The Midnight Meat Train was one of those movies Sci-Fi played non-stop back in the day. I gotta admit, the first time I saw it, I thought it was a porno. The name alone got me hooked, but if you stick around and actually watch the movie, you'll see that it's not a porn, but a pretty good horror flick. It opens up with some bald dude asleep on the train. It looks like it's probably midnight, and technically he's made of meat, so it must be the Midnight Meat Train. He gets up to have a look around and he slips on a huge pool of blood. Come on, how did he not see that? After he flops around in it for a bit, soaking himself, he sees the killer in another car, doing his handiwork. Now, we can tell we're in the Big Apple, which is really no surprise. It's the first town you think of when you need a subway. We meet Leon, a photographer looking for his big break, which comes to him when his girlfriend, Maya, talks about a mutual friend that they have, Jurgis, who has an in with a big name art dealer, Susan Hoff. I wonder if she's related to Hasselhoff. Well, anyway, Leon meets with her and she's impressed with his work and wants to see more, but has some suggestions for him, which basically all boil down to put yourself in harm's way just to get the perfect photo. So that's what he does. That night he can't sleep, so he heads out into the streets and follows a gang of thugs down into the subway, where they all start harassing a young girl. Leon's snapping away, but when things get a little too physical, he intervenes, stopping them. It looks like Leon's toast, and this guy's just gonna fillet him open like a fish. But when he sees a camera watching him, the thug decides to leave him alone. The girl thanks him and runs off to catch the train. And, well, that's gonna be a big mistake. She probably should have just tried her luck with the thugs. The next morning, while eating at the restaurant Maya works at, Leon reads in the paper about a missing person. The same girl he saved the night before. That's a really up-to-date newspaper. They would have only had like 2 hours to write and print this article. But nonetheless, Leon decides to go to the cops with his pictures, thinking that the thugs came and kidnapped her. Instead, his plan backfires and they think he was stalking her because the girl was a model and he could sell candid photos of her or something like that. It doesn't really matter because the police let him go and just kind of forget about it. Leon shows his new work to Susan and she's impressed. So impressed that she invites him to a showing she's having, if he can get 2 more photos like this one. A major win. But now the heat is on to get more pictures. Back on the train for a minute and we see 3 people talking. This girl's worried about using the subway late at night and the others tell her that it's perfectly safe. And, well, no, it's not.
She's been checking me out during the break.
It's at this point you do wonder why he is doing this exactly. Like, there has to be a bigger reason for all of this. And how does he clean it all up when he's done? And how does he keep his suit perfectly clean? Why is he wearing a suit in the first place? Well, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. That was the last train and the killer's done for the night. So he heads home. Leon's still looking to get his pictures, so he tails him, getting a little too close. He grabs Leon, and after he finishes pooping his pants, he notices the guy's ring. He eventually lets him go and wanders into this hotel where he stays. Later, when Leon's developing the film, he takes a close look at the picture of the model he took. And sure enough, holding the door open for her is that same ring. Now Leon knows who the killer is, and more importantly, a way to clear his name. The next day, Leon tails him again, all the way to his day job as a butcher. After work, he follows him down to the subway, where the guy just sits and waits for seemingly all day. I gotta admit, this is a pretty cool shot. Vinnie Jones had to sit perfectly still for hours to get it. Finally, the train shows up and he heads on in, with Leon close behind. But luckily for his sake, He's stopped by a cop who wants to see his camera, so he misses the train and lives to see another day. On board, there's only one guy, and the butcher starts to get to work right away. But before he can finish him off, he starts coughing up blood. This guy takes advantage of this and starts fighting the butcher. They go back and forth a bit until the conductor hears all the commotion, and he gets up to have a look. He sees the fight and ends it with a single shot from his gun. So, he's in on it too? We also get a name for our killer here, Mahogany. So, that's cool. Back at his hotel room, Mahogany's getting ready for bed or something, and we see his chest is covered with some nasty skin condition that looks like he's got octopus suckers or something. I don't know, it's gross. And he cuts them off and keeps them in a jar. What's that all about? Maya sees Leon's photos of the butcher and wonders why he's so focused on this, when he should be trying to get his pictures for Susan. But he's fallen pretty deep into the rabbit hole, finding a newspaper article about the butcher from over 100 years ago. So is he immortal or a descendant of this guy? Well, we'll find out. Maya can see that he's falling deeper and deeper into this, so she tries to distract him by taking her clothes off. I mean, that would work for me, but not for Leon, who just can't keep his mind off the killer. Tonight, he's bound and determined to get on that train and catch the butcher red-handed. He boards onto the last train, which is at 2:06, not midnight. So it's the 2 a.m. meat train now. Leon hides out and waits. Sure enough, the butcher gets to work. He snaps a few photos and finally has the proof he needs. All he has to do now is just hide out and make it home. But of course, that's not what happens. He gets caught and Mahogany gets him. When he wakes up, he's hanging upside down like some butchered meat. Then some creatures come on board and carve a symbol into his chest. When he wakes up, he's in the basement of the butcher's shop. Okay? At home, Maya sees the mark on Leon's chest and wants to take him to the hospital, but he's not having it. All he wants to do is sleep, and he doesn't mention anything about the monsters running around the subway. He does tell her the only proof he had was on his camera, which was taken from him. So, while he sleeps, Maya teams up with Jurgis to break into Mahogany's hotel room.
What else are we gonna do?
Which goes about how you would expect it to. He comes home while they're looking for the camera and he takes out Jurgis. Maya manages to escape, but she goes straight to the cops, and instead of helping her, they accuse her of breaking and entering. I guess don't go to the cops when you need help in this city. Leon goes to his big showing, but his heart isn't in it. And after a while, he leaves to prepare for a fight.
I got a train to catch.
He goes to the butcher's shop and gears up with chainmail and all the knives he can hold, while Maya gets a gun from her work and boards the train. She knows that if the killer took Jurgis anywhere, he'd be on this train. As it passes by, Leon catches a glimpse inside and sees Maya, which is bad news bears. He hops on and climbs in to save her. On board, Maya finds Jurgis, who's a little worse for wear, but still alive. She tries to get him off the hook, but instead, all she does is get the butcher's attention. Uh-oh. Luckily, she has a gun, but she's not a very good shot, and he is, with his hammer. Just as he's about to give the final blow, Leon comes in to save the day. They fight for like the last 10 minutes of the film. It takes a while, but they're all surrounded by naked bodies, so I can't show you much of it. Just know that during the struggle, Jurgis is taken out of his misery, and Leon ends up throwing Mahogany off the train, which comes to a stop, and the conductor comes by to say this really cheesy line.
Please, step away from the meat.
As Leon and Maya get off, the creatures head on in to feast. We get a good look at them, and they're really nasty looking. I like it. The two try to make it out of there, but guess what? Mahogany's still alive. You didn't think it'd be that easy, did ya? Now we can see that he has the same mark carved into his chest like Leon has. But there's really no time to focus on that because it's a fight to the death, with Leon finally winning in the end, with the Butcher saying his one and only word in the movie.
Welcome.
Just then, the conductor shows up out of the blue and picks up Leon. He must have super strength or something. He rips out his tongue, which explains why Mahogany didn't talk the whole time, and tells him that he's special, that he's been chosen. He goes on to explain that there's a whole race of creatures that live down here. They always have and always will, since the beginning of time, even before humans. This is apparently how they keep them happy, so they don't come up to our world. I guess no one ever thought to just throw in a couple dead cows every once in a while, so they use humans to feed them. The conductor walks over to Maya and he rips her heart out like an Indiana Jones ritual. And commands Leon to serve, as the others have before him. Now we see the Butcher getting ready for the day, with the cop just chilling in his apartment. I guess she was in on it. He boards the train, and we see the same bald guy from the beginning of the movie. And, surprise, surprise, Leon's the new Butcher. And that was Midnight Meat Train. And after a rewatch, it's not quite as good as I remembered. One positive is that you go in with pretty low expectations given the title of the movie. You'd expect it to be dumb, and it is better than the title would suggest. But some things did fall flat. Like, what was the deal with Mahogany's skin? I did find a forum that suggested he had some type of skin cancer, which would make sense because he did cough up blood, but in the end it's never confirmed and it's like they just forgot about it halfway through. Also, the CGI is laughably bad, almost like they did it silly on purpose. However, when there is practical effects, the gore is turned up to 11 and real nasty. The actors do a good job. This was right before Bradley Cooper's career started taking off, and he held the movie together pretty well. I think a big reason why this movie failed is some bonehead decided to only play it in around 100 discount theaters across the US, and then they sent it right to DVD and TV. Well, yeah, of course it's gonna fail if you do that, but that's probably why Sci-Fi played it all the time back in the day, because it was cheap. Otherwise, I probably never would have seen this movie at all. I give Midnight Meat Train 2.5 giant hammers out of 4.
Please, step away from the meat.